My dad was my biggest cheerleader, always behind me 100%. He was at every cross-country meet, every basketball game and lacrosse game, every award ceremony, and of course, every graduation. After my parents got divorced, he worked 2 jobs to make sure that my brother and I could stay in the same school district that we had grown up in. My dad wrote me every single week while I was at boot camp and was with me as I boarded a plane to Afghanistan. My dad also struggled with drug addiction. He wanted to get better, but Oregon offers far too little for those who need help. We are near the bottom of the nation when it comes to providing treatment for those who want it and need it. A fatal drug overdose took his life while he was on a drug treatment waiting list. There is not a doubt in my mind that his overdose was an accident, and that if he had been able to access drug treatment earlier, he would be alive today. Measure 110 is simple. It will greatly increase the amount of drug treatment and recovery services available to Oregonians in every part of the state, including service members when they return home, funded by a portion of existing cannabis taxes. Instead of making criminals out of people struggling from addiction, it will give them help, the help that they need. It won't raise taxes or legalize any drugs, but it will save lives.
The war on drugs, the criminal justice pathway, does not make a responsive addiction system. I spent 22 years addicted to methamphetamine, and it was a progressive thing. I had 5 children, young children. My addiction started very, early in my teenage years, and I became a mother of 5 very quickly. And my mother tried, and I come, from a fairly privileged background. My dad was a college professor, and we were middle class, and there wasn't help for me at that age. It wasn't, it was stigmatized. And access as an adult, I became, later on, I in and out of county jails, and there was no offer of treatment. It was just this revolving door. And then, as my addiction progressed, criminal activities begins. I lost everything, and then I became homeless and IV meth user and diagnosed with schizophrenia and living on the streets. I didn't get treatment until prison. And so the treatment I got in prison was 6 months, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and helped me practice a new way of life. And I kept wondering, why wasn't this offered? Why isn't this available out in the world? And the answer that I got from not only staff, but as I've done this work, is that it was expensive. I wonder, how expensive just me was to not be able to raise my 5 children, to cycle in and out of emergency department and jail until finally landing in prison. So I wonder if I could have funded that program a year for what was spent on me 17 felonies later,
Was prison the first time you really got treatment then?
It was the only time I got treatment.
As a police officer, we enforce the laws that are on the books. And so the thinking was that if we could get a person into our care and custody, get them into the criminal justice system, that we could then provide them with the tools to rehabilitate and not completely keep repeating the cycle of violation, arrest, and release back to society, that vicious cycle. We never treated the underlying causation, the drug abuse, the substance abuse issue. We needed to treat that drug abuse issue, and we didn't. And so I went from thinking we were doing the right thing by getting these people into the criminal justice system and realizing that we weren't providing them with the necessary tools to overcome their addiction issues.
How does Measure 110 provide them with those tools?
Ballot Measure 110 provides a compassionate method of dealing with substance abuse and drug addiction. It gives the police officer an opportunity to come in contact with the person, issue a citation, and then have that person go in for an evaluation. a drug substance abuse evaluation and see if there is a problem, and then get that person into treatment.
Do you think the citation is enough incentive for most people who are struggling with addiction?
It's a $100 fine. It's a Class E violation. So somebody gets a ticket from a police officer. If you correlate that to, say, a driving issue, a police officer gives you a ticket, and a lot of times that changes the person's behavior. That changes the person's driving behavior. So the theory is that if we give someone a citation, they've got this piece of paper and they realize that there is going to be some consequence for their behavior, but they can get out of that consequence if they go into treatment, if they go into that evaluation. And studies have shown throughout the world that if you can get a person into a safe, secure environment and show them compassion, that we are going to help them with their substance abuse problem, they then become likely to take advantage of that. Does it work every particular time? Not necessarily, but you keep offering it. You keep offering it until the person takes advantage of the therapy and the treatment options that are available to them. Ballot Measure 110 will save money, will save livelihoods, it'll save time, and it'll give the police an opportunity to interact within the community in a positive way. If you give the police a tool, just one tool to try and combat the situation, taking them into custody and putting them into jail, you're not going to be happy with the end result. We need to give our law enforcement more tools to deal with the situation that they come in contact with. When you come in contact with a person who's struggling with an addiction issue, give them treatment. Don't incarcerate them.